When I think comfort food, I think the #1 dish that always springs to mind is macaroni and cheese. I just don't think you can beat it. It's kind of comforting, it's gooey, it's rich, it's delicious. And so I'm doing a little twist on it using our Tempus No. 8, spiking the bechamel with a little bit of English mustard as well, and just adding to that wonderful kind of baseline flavour that you get with the macaroni and cheese, but adding a few bits to it. Really straightforward, classical way of doing it. So I'm just going to make a roux first. Flour, butter, add some milk to that, make a lovely silky bechamel. I've got some milk heating already on the hob with some bay leaves and some onion. Then I'll add some cheddar to that, we'll add the No. 8 to that. So we make up all of the components going to the sauce, we cook the macaroni, we mix it together, and then I'm going to top it with this lovely crunchy cheesy topping of panko breadcrumbs and Parmesan. So just delicious. You've got that crunch at the top, you've got that gooey, melting, cheesy middle, and then hopefully those lovely zingy, spicy, spiky notes from that No. 8. So first things first is to get the roux working to make that bechamel. Okay, so to make our bechamel, we're going to start with our unsalted butter. Once that's foaming, add in the flour. Just plain flour, stir that through, make sure it's cooked through. You'll know it's ready when it takes on that slightly nutty flavour, that raw smell of the flour goes away. But when it starts to turn slightly golden, start adding some of the milk. Whisking it so you get a lovely silky base, and then we're just going to add more and more of that milk. Get it all into there, stir it through, make sure there's no lumps. Take it off the heat, add in the mustard, and now it'll have dropped a little bit in temperature, we can add that cheese in so the cheese will melt, but it's not going to be too hot so that the sauce splits. Okay, there we have our beautiful, silky, glossy cheese sauce. So I'm going to add a decent pinch of salt, tiny bit of black pepper, and then we're going to break in that gorgeous piece of No. 8. Quite big chunks are fine, it will melt, it'll come apart obviously as it's stirred through, and you don't want it to become this kind of homogeneous sauce. It's quite nice to come across that for some textural variance. So stir that through quite roughly. So sauce done, and just grab my macaroni. Now we just pour in all of that sauce and just stir it through. Stir it through, you want that coating, all of that macaroni. Nothing worse than coming across a big pocket of completely dry macaroni and none of that glorious cheesy sauce. And finally our topping, so the panko, just scattered over. I don't really want it to be particularly uniform. I quite like that you get little bubbly patches, you get bits with cheese, bits without. You know, the Parmesan, in case we hadn't used enough cheese at this point. And then I'm just going to give that a good glug of olive oil. And that's going to go straight under a very hot grill. That straight into the oven. Oh yes. I would say give it a couple of minutes before you serve it because that is piping hot. I always have to just make sure we're going to hear the crust on that. We're going to serve that in a couple of minutes, and I think that will be the best mac and cheese you've ever had. I think a little twist, or a pinch in this case, of black pepper. And that's our Tempus No. 8 mac and cheese. I think comfort food at its very best. I'm not going to take some from the plate, straight into the bowl for chef's perk. And just when you thought mac and cheese couldn't get any better.